Yo, what is up, Knights? It's your host, Aegis Rick here, bringing you episode 2 of the DFO podcast, Arad Airways. I got some awesome reception after the first one, so I'm really glad you guys are engaged and you like it. Of course, now I know that it's worth the effort. I read every single comment, thank you again, and let me respond to some of those points brought up in them. First of all, I've decided to add a few more segments to the podcast in order to beef up the structure. I'll describe them when I get to them, but just remember that this whole idea is just starting out, so we can change it however we want. Secondly, I wanted to address one of the biggest suggestions, and that is the whole idea of guests or second speakers. I'll be frank with you guys, I know that a lot of podcasts do this, but at least at the moment, I don't really have the drive to pull it off. The format as I have it right now is not really live. I take long pauses to think about subjects, and it's slightly edited to reduce the time. It takes a lot of effort to coordinate things like guest speakers, and really it just kind of takes away from the flow of things. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that I can do a solo DFO related podcast, but I never really intended to evolve this into a DFO related talk show. But I can see why you would want one. In talk shows, you get to hear other people's opinions aside from my own all the time, so I can see that, and I'll try to include your alternative views in this episode. But anyway, guys, let's go. Okay, so you know how in the beginning of some like episodic animes, they usually do a recap of the last episode, right? Well, we're going to be doing that for the podcast as well. I'll be putting up a few of my top or favorite comments for each topic on the screen and just say a few words. All right, first we talked about the White Christmas buff last week, and one of the comments was from 77 Swords, who said, "So I was one of the, quote, casuals who didn't run the epic event every day and was able to get 20 runs. While I got 3 epics before Christmas buff, I got 7 with the Christmas buff in 2 days. It was pretty broken. I got 1 epic on the 27th. My thinking was that Neopal would just patch it because of how broken the epic drop rate would be, but cool that they left it in. People being jealous about it, though, is just disgusting and childish." So, well, it's funny coming from you because you actually got the benefit from it, fucker. No, I'm kidding, of course. Someone getting epics doesn't affect you at all. You lose nothing from another success in a PvE game. Now, I was going to respond more on that comment, guys, but I'm going to update this video like 2 days later because I just got this comment that I could not pass up. It is from JR Rabbit, who says, "Envy, huh? Is it envy that I got 1 epic and other people got 20? Neopal punished its more dedicated players. Bullshit. Intentional or not, they have never buffed people unevenly. Neopal has always been fair. It's not always the smartest. I'm taking hiatus from DFO for this reason. Not sure I'll come back." I'm sorry. If you're asking what envy is, yes, that is literally the definition of envy. Yes, that is what envy is. I don't want to make light of the fact that you seem to not want to come back, but couple things. Neopal has done everything fair? Absolutely not. I made examples in the last video of how they weren't fair. And really, you just gotta realize life isn't fair, kid. Next, I talked about the Petit Pet very shortly. I just asked what kind of pet you guys got. You guys actually got a lot of different pets. Like Coldbrand actually got Dark Templar. That's that I didn't expect that one, just to go with her Heaven's Luck. Sticky Quote actually grabbed a Petit Alios because I just love how Swiftmaster plays and I want to gear him up. Nearly have 6 out of 6 ratio. I thought the pet looked so stupid. Personally, I thought he looked so bad. I didn't even get it from my own ALOs. And I kind of like my Swiftmaster too. I just thought his Petite was so trash. And Danny G said he would have used the Petite box for Paladin, but not an option. Yeah, that was definitely not going to happen. At the time, at least, Petite for Paladin was not released yet. But as of right now, as of you're listening to this video, yes, she is released, so go ahead and buy her for 700 Sarah or just in the auctional. I did make a quick mention about the controllers in my last video about playing with the controller. I did get a comment that was pretty heated at me because Ashley Byram here, I won't read the whole thing, but it's just saying, "You are completely wrong about controller support. Not only can you bind to triggers, you can also bind to analog sticks and start and pause and the home key buttons." Basically, he goes on to say he's binded everything. This also kind of goes with a comment made by Master Red Gaming, who says, "As for the controller, I use a wired PS3 power controller. No third-party program is required, so just plug it in and go, and you can use all the triggers and bumpers and analog buttons as well." Really, I think this is all answered by a 77 Swords comment. Again, thanks for the comment. Who just says, "As long as the controller has direct input support like the Logitech controllers, they can use the joysticks naturally." So it all depends on actually, you know, people are saying, oh, you can use whatever controller. It actually depends on what your input is. You know, there's X input, there's D input. So I guess the D input controllers, direct input, can be mapped fully. It's probably if you have an X input, then you might start having some trouble. But the Logitech controllers, hey, go at it. At least you won't need a third-party program. I still suggest it, though. It's not going to be as complex as a third-party program. So use XPatter, use Joy2Key, something like that. Lastly, I talked about PvP and the PvP scene definitely waning. RFI came up with a comment. He said I was wrong about the game being old. Basically, he says that people love this game, but usually they're very exclusive to themselves. It's hard to get around as a newbie with these old vets just coming in there and kicking your ass. So that's the newbie side. But on the veteran side, it's mostly because Neopol just played with our feelings by ignoring all of the 3-plus-year-old bugs and the bug reports in the current status of PvP, including all the suggestions provided to fix it. Basically, they neglect it. So they're getting ignored. They're getting ignored by PvP, and there's still some bugs and stuff they want fixed, and they're not getting addressed, and that's why. I didn't say that in the video, but I completely agree. If you're just getting ignored, why bother, right? I said the same thing about Dragoness, actually. When the lag started hitting so hard, and I kept making videos, improving it, and they just ignored it, I just said, okay, you didn't need to tell me twice. I already know the answer. You know, I'm not going to waste my time if they're not going to bother to waste theirs. So good response, and I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to do this every video. I don't know how long. I don't want this to take up the whole time, but I do want to respond to your guys' comments and prove to you guys I am reading these and I am open to whatever you guys are saying. So anyway, let's move on to the actual episode 2. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start today's podcast with some current news again, okay? If you guys have been frequenting Reddit, then you're probably aware of a topic that came up regarding Temporal Rift. It was a PSA by the user of AR-DFOAAA, so shout out to him. I'll put a link in the description if you wanted to read up on the results, but to summarize, Temporal Rift currently is weighted a little heavily towards epic weapons and epic weapon fragments. Apparently, this was a well-known bug in Korea, which was fixed by the time Origin update came out, and it's apparent that at least in our version, we got the bugged version, so history repeats itself again in DFOG. I'll use this fact to tee up my argument against TRift in general, because overall, I just think the Temporal Rift is just a huge waste of resources. I'll explain that, but first, let's talk about the Reddit post and the weighted drop rates. Now again, the drop rates in Temporal Rift are weighted towards weapons. Now, is this a good or bad thing, do you guys think, okay? And I really do think it depends on your point of view. It could be good if you're desperate for a weapon and you pretty much have everything else. But in general, I'm going to say it's a really bad thing. Weapons are just one slot out of a potential 12 that could be huge damage increases depending on what epic you get. There's a lot of epics in the other 11 slots that are really strong on their own, okay? It's not just a weapon. Weapons by far have like the most useless epics in their pool. You can get any armor, accessories, sub-equipment, and you can equip it immediately. But there are a vast number of weapons though that you can't even put on. Like I said, even if weapons give you the most potential damage boost, they are the hardest pieces to get, right? Since you got to consider your subclass, and maybe even if you got a weapon you can put on, maybe it's not for your weapon type that your class uses. Places like the TOD, I think, are a lot more consistent when it comes to getting epics over the Temporal Rift. Lastly, and like most all the classes anyway, the savior weapon is your best in slot. I'm not going to say that for every class, but most classes are going to want a savior weapon at the hyper end game, so this isn't even a weapon that you're going to keep forever. For a lot of classes, they aren't even the end goal. That's what I'm saying here. So overall, I don't think that Temporal Rift being weighted towards weapon is a good thing for pretty much everyone. You know, like I said, if you really want a weapon and you're looking for one weapon, you're 11 out of 12 and you just want this weapon really bad, I guess there's that. There's also the fact that, you know, I'm kind of thinking there's like level 90 weapons are the only ones you're looking for, but there are really good level 85 weapons or even level 80 weapons that you might want to use that are like swap weapons. Again, I think TOD is probably a better place to get them, but, you know, it's kind of like, okay, if you really want a weapon, here you go, okay? Temporal Rift is going to be good. But overall, you know my opinion, I think it's a bad thing right now. Now, I talked about in the last stream that I was not a white knight for Neopol, so I'm going to attack them right now. Just know, hey, I love DFO, but I'm not afraid to attack them, so here it goes. Why does this bug exist? Okay, we know it's a bug, right? Because nothing about this feature, I guess, bug, it was ever mentioned in the patch notes when Temporal Rift came out. And you can check right now, they're not mentioned there either. So we know it's a bug. Now, if it was a bug, it makes you wonder, why would they release this bug into our server, right? DFOG has the luxury of being able to know exactly what's coming. They have foresight, right? Because they know exactly what happened in KDNF. We're not getting anything special. So how are they also accepting all of the bugs that they had in their version of the game? Especially since the so-called bug was already fixed in the Origin update. There really is no excuse. It's like they intentionally gave us a bug they secretly knew about, but they knew they'd fix later. You know, you really think about it, the impact of this gets really serious because people have been unwittingly throwing away DI in an attempt to get whatever epics they can in Temporal, not really knowing that it was weighted differently, and Neopol knew about it all along. They can't really feign the ignorance here because they already fixed this bug in Korea, right? Why would they give us the unintended version? It just doesn't make any sense. Really, it's just seems really sleazy. It almost feels like they intentionally gave us the weighted version towards the weapons in an effort to waste even more DI than Temporal Rift already was. That's really what it feels like right now. This is probably a way bigger subject than, you know, the White Christmas buff, a mistake with the White Christmas buff. This is way larger impact. This isn't a gift that Neopol gave us. This is a feature of the game that's been lasting for a long time, and it's only now getting uncovered and unknown. People have wasted a lot of their real resources, not just event items and stuff. They've been wasting their real resources when your RNG rates are hidden like this. You know, it's really the only way you can expose something like this is if you get statistical data after thousands of runs, right? And by then the damage is already done. It's like a huge scam, really, at least for those who have been, again, doing Temporal. So it really sucks for them, and I'm surprised this isn't more of a bigger subject for people. There was a small thread on it, you know, after the PSA. People were like, oh shit, I wasted a whole bunch of my invites because I was running this and I kept getting weapons. I didn't realize it. Well, this is a bigger deal than I think people are letting on. Luckily, I think a lot of people are like me, who believe that Temporal Rift in itself is a really bad idea. Even if the drop rates weren't weighted right now and they ran exactly like normal hells, I still think it would suck bad. And I'll take this time to kind of tee up that argument, because if you're running Temporal Rift now, I want to try to, you know, get you away from it. Aside from the fact that it's weighted right now towards weapon, I want to try to also like explain why I think Temporal Rift is like one humongous scam. Again, even if it was working properly. So what are the benefits of Temporal? We've had Temporal for a few months now. I didn't really make a video on it or anything. I just kind of mentioned it in passing. But what is Temporal Rift? Why do people do it? Temporal Rift is basically an area-specific hell mode that's like Hell Mode EX, right? You have to do a feat quest and you unlock Temporal Rift. It costs generally a few more demon invites more than just running Hell Party normally, like everybody knows the Hell Party. It costs a little bit more DI. So in Pandemonium, I'll use Pandemonium as an example for the rest of this kind of discussion. In Pandemonium, it costs 30 DI. Whereas Hell Party and Pandemonium normally cost 28. So it's a little bit higher DI cost. But for that, what do you get? You get higher drop chances on epics, which is, I think, pretty much unanimous across the board. You do get higher drop chances in Temporal. I don't know the exact rates, but it's quite high. You know, it's noticeably like, oh, they're dropping epics more often. You get a few more epic fragments. I don't know the exact number. I think it actually ranges from a set amount, but you get a few more epic fragments. So if you're farming your epic book, you do get compensated for those extra DI. You do get more epic fragments. And lastly, which is a big feature for a lot of people, party play is enabled. You're allowed to go into the Temporal Rift in a party, which is a pretty nice benefit, especially for like support classes, right? If you're playing a support class, it's kind of hard to do your normal hell party by yourself. So, you know, it's nice to be able to party up and not be affected by the drop splitting. If you didn't know, if you go into normal hell party, in a party, the loot is all split. So the epics and the epic fragments are all split amongst all the party members. It's just retarded. So you have to go solo if you're running Hell Party. It's just a waste. Temporal, though, doesn't have that limitation. Now, what are the cons? Okay, this all sounds pretty good. You're like, oh shit, party play, I get higher drop chance epic, it only costs 2 more DI. What's the catch? Why do you hate Temporal Rift then, Rick? Well, let me tell you, okay. Temporal Rift has a lot of limitations, and I have them listed here, okay. It costs more DI, like I said, 30 instead of 28. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but it could add up. It costs more FP, 6 instead of 4, which is more of a case of how many runs you would want to do in a day. It's not a real limitation, but it's still something you got to consider if you're just trying to do runs after runs. It does cost a little bit more. I say it takes longer to do. This is obviously gonna vary, but it takes longer to do than if you were to just to do a normal hell party. And I'm gonna say Times Square because everybody does it in Times Square. It's faster to do Times Square than it is to do Temporal Rift. And if you can do Temporal Rift fast, like, oh, that's not a problem for me. I could do Temporal fast. You can probably do Times Square faster, okay? That's part of the reason why I say it takes longer to do. Part of this is also due to the fact that Temporal Rift, what it does is select one of the dungeons randomly. And so you don't know what dungeon you're going to get when you go into Temporal. So it kind of takes a little bit longer because, you know, your rotations have to be different every time. So whatever the case, it takes longer to do. I don't care how strong you are. But here are the two reasons, guys. I mean, those are just kind of minor points. It takes longer to do, a little bit more DI. Here's the real reason why Temporal Rift sucks, in my opinion. No hell orbs. Those are the region-specific orbs that drop randomly. They're pink items, and they give you a set amount of demon invitations. In Pandemonium, it gives you 500 demon invitations. 500. Like, if it drops, boom, get paid. Huge, huge drop. And also, Epic Souls don't drop in Temporal Rift. Epic Souls are not as huge of a deal as Hell Orbs, but Epic Soul is kind of like having a useless epic drop, right? Because a useless epic, you'll disassemble, and you'll get back 100 demon invitations, you know? You get back 100. So Epic Soul dropping is like getting 100 DI. You don't get Hell Orbs or Epic Souls in Temporal Rift, meaning you are missing out on so many returns on demon invitation. You are missing on so many. So those two are the main reasons why Temporal Rift is just one huge scam. Aside from the fact that the weapons are weighted right now, even when they fix that, I would not be doing Temporal Rift. The fact that you can't make back nearly the amount of returns because of the lack of the Hell Orb or the Epic Souls should be reason enough. I mean, it costs way too much to do Temporal because of this, and it's absolutely not offset by the fact that you get higher drop chance on epics. That's how valuable I weigh the returns of Hell Orbs and Epic Soul. You can do Hells for so much longer. So then, you know, we've got to ask ourselves, in what situations would you even think about doing Temporal, right? I'm standing in the shoes of someone who is justifying it now, and I can think of only two situations why you'd want to do Temporal Rift. One is that you are time constrained and you need epics. Like, you need them ASAP. You don't care that you're wasting demon invitation. And the only other reason I would see why you would want to do Temporal is if you have infinite demon invitations. Like, you can never run out. You cannot run out. You can run for months, years, and you'll never run out. Let me address both of those, okay? First of all, if you're time constrained, right? I say this one because I was this person for a few days. It happened. I had a brand new character, my paladin, and I wanted an epic, any epic that I could get that could make me stronger in Anton Raid, which was coming in just a few days. You know, regular hells are the most efficient in terms of demon invitations and FP and such, but undoubtedly, right, Temporal Rift is supposed to give you more epics on average, and to their credit, it really does. If you're constrained for real time and you're desperate to get epics, then Temporal Rift is the way to go. Overall, though, like I've been saying, it just really isn't worth the cost. I spent a hell of a lot of invites, and I hardly got any returns for them. All of this so that I can do Anton a little bit sooner? Fuck no, man. I should have just skipped Anton for that day. I should have skipped it for the week. I would have skipped it for the whole month if I had to, because I really wasted so many demon invitations. You shouldn't need epics so desperately that, you know, like getting into Anton a tiny bit faster is just not a worthwhile investment or a reason to do that. Next, and this is probably the most common answer I see, what about the people who have infinite invites, right? I'm talking people like Airways in Korea, right? They literally couldn't use them all if they tried. And to that, I say this, all right? You don't get invites like that without a lot of effort or a lot of money, right? Why squander either of those things by running hells that are so inefficient, right? I get it. You're a billionaire and you do Anton a million times a day, but, you know, maybe you wouldn't need to do Anton a million times a day, and you wouldn't have to spend as much real money if you just use your DI wisely, right? So that's the way I see it. Finally, and I didn't mention this point earlier, but maybe you're one of those people that, you know, you like the aspect of party play, and it really makes sense. Like I said earlier, what if you're a completely support-based class who may have a hard time soloing regular hells? And I already know you guys get DI like candy since you get accepted into everything, Anton, Luke, and anything with minimal effort. I know you guys got a lot of demon invitations. So yes, I agree that support classes should maybe do Temporal since it's easier for them to run in a party, but then you're conning somebody else to come in there and do it with you. You know, you're asking them to kind of waste their resources for your sake, so it's still kind of fucked up. At the end of the day, let me just say this, okay? I know firsthand that if you're dead set to do something, you're gonna fucking do it, right? I am not gonna stop anybody from doing anything. I'm actually very hard-headed myself, and after all, it's your DI to spend, so you guys do you. But that's just the way I see it, right? I am probably never gonna run Temporal Rift unless they give me passes to do it for free, in which case, what do I got to lose, right? It's a gift. But even yet, you know, I'd still be thinking in my mind, you know, what if I use this pass to do regular hell and I got a demon orb or some kind of epic soul? That'd be pretty sick, and I can't say that about Temporal Rift. But guys, that's about it for the Temporal Rift rant. My questions for you guys are pretty open-ended, okay? What do you guys think about Temporal Rift? Do you guys like Temporal Rift? Is it worth doing? I'm actually interested if you're one of those people who actually like running Temporal. I'd like to hear your reasoning on that. But it's an open-ended question. What do you guys think about Temporal Rift and about the Reddit post about this news? Maybe you didn't hear about this news before, and so now you're hearing about it. Hey, weapons are weighted. Are you going to keep running it now? Anything you got, let me know. Alrighty guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next subject I want to talk about. And this was something that was brought up in the last episode. So thank you to the following comments. I'm going to put them on the screen right now. Thank you guys for asking this question. We're going to talk about it now. And it's about Echon Dungeons, or Econ as I called it, you know, Econ 101 or Echon in Korea, whatever. Let me give you a quick overview. This is level 90 content, okay? These are the farming locations for the level 90 legendary set, okay? Everybody already knows Saint Horn in the 85 legendary sets. I'm talking Gracia, Dusky, you know, Sea God. All of those sets are in Saint Horn, and for the legendary ancient dungeons, okay, those are your 85 legendary sets. Those are well common and everybody gets them because they're really easy nowadays, but Echon is one step above that, okay? We've got level 90 legendary sets and they are quite strong. I mean, let's just say I've heard them be compared to level 85 epic sets. They're a little bit versatile in the fact that you can wear a 3 set, 5 set, or 6 set, or 3, 4, 5, or 6 piece set, and their set effects have a lot of like raw stat increases. I'm talking you can get physical attack, you can get strength in it, you can get elemental damage, and each piece has stats on its own. So it's kind of like a Build-A-Bear workshop when it comes to level 90 sets. This is more of a very open-ended and very, you can kind of mix and match how you want to build your set. And then you kind of get locked into that set. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's a very strong set. The set effects and the stats themselves are very powerful. And just because I forgot to mention, this encompasses all 11 slots that aren't your weapon. So yes, earrings, sub-equipment, every piece of gear that isn't your weapon can be in a drop in Echon. And each Echon piece actually has 4 levels or rarities, I guess, but you know, that's just kind of details. You guys can figure that one out. I can't really tell you from personal experience, and I guess this is kind of alluding to how I feel about this whole dungeon, but I know that people who have gone through the effort of getting an Echon set were doing damage caps immediately once they got it. Like, they were so powerful. This is a very powerful set. You know, when before they were wearing Gracias and just doing like piddly damage, when they got this Echon set, man, they were just up there with the big boys, with the epic boys, you know. They were hitting hard. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, these aren't worth the time or whatever. Like, dude, you get this set, it's like you got an 85 epic set and you're going to be golden. And especially if you have epics to go along with your set that you build. If you have good synergizing, a good weapon and other good pieces of gear, maybe have another set along with your 6 set Echon piece, you're going to be hitting hard like a truck. So it's open-ended and you can build yourself that way, and it's a very strong set. I'm not going to talk bad about any of that, okay? Who is this set aimed for, right? Who is Echon, really just Echon Dungeons in general? Who are they aimed at, right? Echon is aimed for people who are trying to bridge the gap between Gracia and epics, okay? So that is where Echon lies. It's right below epics, I would say. You know, I'd still say pretty much any epic sets. I'm not going to say any. I'm going to say a lot of epic sets are better. But Echon is like right there. It's wedged right there. It's something that you can farm. It's something that's essentially guaranteed. It's just going to take a lot of effort. So if you're right there, you're wearing Gracia, and you want to make the jump to epics, and you're not getting lucky with epics, this is a consistent means of getting a legendary set that's as strong as an epic, okay? So that's who it's aimed towards. If you look at the big picture, right, like I said, where does this gear stand in the big picture? It wedges itself nicely amongst the level 85 epics. You know, that's where it stands right now. It's like something that's a consistent way to get level 85 epic. Now, when I say consistent, I mean you got to be pretty damn consistent in terms of getting this. I think the reason this topic was brought up, they wanted me to talk about it, was because although all of these nice things can be said about Echon Gear, you know, the gear sets and stuff, the current iteration of the Echon Dungeons right now are very hard. And it's not, I don't think so much the sense that the dungeon itself is hard, because it is. Trust me, if you go into this dungeon with anything less than a level 85 legendary set, you are gonna get bodied, period. And even if you go into a gracious set, depending on your class, if you don't have other good gear to go with it, like a good epic weapon, you're still gonna take very long to clear these dungeons. Some classes are better than others, and quite frankly, you gotta be ready, man. You've gotta have some good off epics and a good legendary set, and you gotta have a strong class to carry you through there. And it's a solo dungeon. You can only go, I forgot to mention when I was giving the overview, but you can only go solo. You can't bring anybody with you. So if you're support class, you're shit out of luck, dude. You gotta go in there with a battle build. But right now, it is a pretty damn hard dungeon, but you've got to expect, because this is a way to consistently farm a set that's about as strong as an epic, yeah, it's got to be pretty hard. So I'm not surprised that it's very hard. But what's also hard with the Echon Dungeons is how long it takes you to farm one of these sets. You got to imagine, however much trouble you're having now doing the Echon Dungeons, you're going to have to keep consistently doing that at that difficulty rate until you can pick yourself up the full Echon set. It's kind of I'll talk about it later, but there's a lot of limitations with the Echon set that force you to keep struggling, and you can only decide to finally finish the Echon set when you're done with it completely. There's no like, oh, I'm going to put a few pieces of this Echon set and I'll keep getting stronger and stronger, like all of the level 85 legendary sets are. With the level 85 legendary sets, you can put a 3-piece effect and you get a large increase of damage. You put the 5 set on and now, oh, there's a big increase of damage. I'm getting stronger. Put the 6 set on and bam, I'm finally hit my goal. You can't do that with Echon. You have to put all 6 pieces at once. So there's no gear progression. The only progression you're going to get is outside of Echon, and then you'll get a humongous damage increase when you finally get Echon. So there's the difficulty there. There's no progression. You're not going to get any stronger via the Echon Dungeons until you're actually done with your set. And so you're going to struggle for a long time unless you do some epics on the side or whatever, okay? So that's really the difficulty, and the struggling is not going to end there, because it's going to take you a long time to get it. Several months, let's just say, straight. You've got a lot of runs to do, 6 runs a day. You've got to do that for months, and it is just a hard grind. Hard grind. I only have one character who's even close to finishing a set, and that's kind of like on and off. It takes a lot of resources, a lot of terranium. You got to farm for that, and it's just not an easy grind. It is a very hard grind, but like I said, I'm not complaining about the grind. Really, I think it's worthwhile. It's just a little bit too long, in my opinion. And let me kind of explain that. Right now, I really think Echon Gear is in a very odd spot right now. I know I was saying it's to bridge the gap between legendaries and epics, right? It's as strong as an epic. But the problem is right now, it's in a very bad spot, because getting a 3-piece of level 90 epics is not that hard to do, honestly. And getting a 3 set of a 90 set is going to boost you up to be stronger than this Echon set. I'm not going to say like across the board it will, but I'm going to say if it isn't already boosting you a 3 set effect of level 90, it'd be pretty dang close to it. The effort it requires to get a 3-piece 90 epic set is not nearly as high as what you'd need to do to farm a whole Echon set. It's very, I'll just say comparatively, very easy to get a 3-piece epic 90 set, and already you're getting a huge boost. So I think the distribution of effort, right, it's like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing Anton, you know, with my scrub gear until I get enough DI to get me some hell runs, and then I'm going to get a 3-piece 90 set eventually. And already it just kind of eliminates the need to do Echon. On my Paladin, for instance, I sure as hell didn't do any Echon. I just freaking went in and started doing hells, and already I have a 3 set and a whole bunch of gear. I'm not going to do Echon ever. So right now it's just too hard to do Echon and too easy to do 90 hells, right? So that power gap right there is kind of something that needs to be addressed, and it's going to be, okay? It's not yet now, but it's going to be in the future. I don't really follow the Korean version of the game when it comes to exact intricacies about updates, but I do know a couple things are coming, right? First of all, there's a lot of future ideas with Echon. Even in the most recent Winter Festival, where they talked about the new Gunblader class or whatever, there were are still some discussions about Echon Dungeons and adjusting the difficulty, adjusting the length, the duration of how to do it, how long it takes to do it, stuff like that. They're still talking about balancing it, so just know that we're still in the infancy when it comes to what they want to do with the Echon Dungeons, and they really do need to change it for the better because of the point I made already. It's too hard for how easy it is to get something stronger, right? There's going to be a dungeon called Echon the Strong Ones. It's basically going to be an alternative dungeon. It's going to be a bonus dungeon after you do the 5 regular runs, in which case you fight against these 3 bosses who are guaranteed to drop Echon pieces, which is something that we don't get right now. Right now we just kind of get an extra run with a lot of material at the end, but now we're going to get more chances of pieces dropping. So that's a nice benefit. We're getting that. We should be getting that pretty soon. I remember that releasing, had to have been several months by now, but KDNF has had that for a while, so we could get that. It would ease our need to purchase pieces, and we'll get more pieces as drops. That's pretty nice. I still don't think it addresses my main issue with the Echon sets, okay? So we talked about how hard it is to get it, how easy it is to get something else, but here's my biggest issue with this set, right? There's the limitation thing. Let's go back to that, because like I said, it's not possible for you to get a partial set effect of Echon. You have to get all the same pieces at once, okay? And the reason for that is, like I said, this is a Build-A-Bear set. So you get pieces of it, and you also can change the stats on the pieces, but then you can also change your set effect, which is locked once you choose a set effect. That's the problem here, okay? You can wear the individual pieces as you want, but once you choose a set effect, you're locked into the set effect, right? So if I get 3 pieces of Echon, I can make a 3 set effect, but I can't then go back later once I get a 4th piece and make a 4-piece set, and then later make a 5th-piece set. You can't do that. You have to make the whole set all at once, right? So if you want a 6 set effect, you need all 6 pieces. And this, for me, guys, is the biggest limitation out of Echon. It's the biggest change that needs to happen before I think Echon can be taken seriously in DFOG. And I do believe they're going to address that by making the cost, because what you have to do, guys, when you get an Echon set, say you make a 4 set effect and you want to now make a 5 set effect, you have to break the 4 set effect and remake a 5 set effect with the same cost. It is ridiculous. So basically, it's impossible. If you want a 6 set effect, you can't do a partial. You have to wait till you get enough materials to get the 6 set effect. It's just ridiculous. It means that you lose a progression aspect of it, like I said, that you get from pretty much any other gear set. The old level 85 legendaries are so much more modular because you can wear any piece that you want, right? You get a piece of Gracia, any piece of Gracia, well, you're going to be able to keep upgrading it until you get the set effect that you want. You can't do that with Echon. And here's the big thing about it. Say you finally go through and you make a 6 set effect of Echon, the one that you wanted. Finally farmed all the 6 pieces, got all the materials to actually make and build the set effect that I want, and I'm wearing it, right? And you're good to go. You got your damage increase and you're strong as shit. What happens when you get a really good epic that just so happens to be a slot that you're using up for your Echon set? You can't wear it. You cannot wear it. You cannot put it on because it would break the set effect. And you don't get a partial set effect, like I said. So if you wear or don't wear any single piece of that set that you built, even if it's a 6 set and you go down to 5 set, it breaks the set. You don't have a set anymore. It's just so limiting. The most limiting thing you could do in this game. Whereas, you know, if I wore Gracia, like I keep saying, if I replace any one piece, that means I just have to get another piece of Gracia to build the set back up again. Meanwhile, I'll have a 5 set. Not the case with Echon. You have to remove the 6 set effect, make a new 6 set effect with the same amount of materials it took to make the first. It is way too limiting. Trust me, the problem with the Echon set is not the fact that it's hard and it takes a long time. Trust me, I do all kinds of stuff in this game that are hard, take a long time, but I got through and did it. This is the only reason why I haven't been taking Echon more seriously, is that even if I finish the 6 set effect, if I go to do Hells one day and I get a really good epic, I can't put it on. I can't put it on if it's any of the same pieces I've used for my Echon set, because it would break the set and then thus I'd have to remake it and it would cost me all the same amount of time to reform all the pieces again to make the set. It's ridiculous. It's one of the main reasons I don't like Echon, and they will be changing this at some point to be more comprehensive. But as of right now, it just is implemented in such a limiting way that I don't think a lot of people are taking it very seriously. Once they make these changes, and once they make it easier, and once they make the grind easier to do, Echon will be a much more sought out system. But as of right now, I think people are going to stick with Gracia and just farm epics. I think it's easier to do that, and it's easier to just ignore Echon, and that's how I feel about it. But I'll ask you guys some questions about it. Do you run Echon right now? Or maybe do you think you'll run it in the future once these changes hit? Which is probably going to be my case. And really, just any open-ended ideas that you have about Echon are free game too. And alrighty guys, we're going to move on to my last topic, and it's going to be a very, very short one. I'm sorry, I'm kind of cheating out on this one, but it kind of explains itself when I bring it up. It is the Share Your Expertise event, guys. I'm a little bit curious. How many of you guys are actually working on the Share Your Expertise event? You don't have to spoil it yet. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm working on it myself. That's actually why I'm gonna cut this video a little bit shorter and only have like 2 real topics, because guys, I am working heavily on the Share Your Expertise event. I know I could just submit any of the mini guides I make on this channel, but guys, I'm gonna blow you guys away. I'm gonna take the #1 spot when it comes to quality, at least. Maybe not content, but quality of this guide video I'm gonna make. I'm kind of interested though. What are you guys planning on making? I don't know if I have enough time, actually. I'm just stressing out, kind of. I'm making this video and I'm like, you know, I could be just working on the guide, but making this instead. But what are you guys doing? And if you don't want to spoil what your idea is, because you don't want somebody to come and take it from you guys, are you guys participating at all? I'm just telling you guys right now, I think it's a really nice thing to do. It gives people like a platform, like a motivational platform. I know sometimes these kinds of things, if you're actually starting into it, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I think you guys will start to realize how hard these things are. They take a lot of extra time, even if you're doing like a written guide, right? It's just like you want to try to get everything right, you know, and if you're doing a video guide, then, you know, you've got all kinds of stuff you got to do, right? You got editing, video shooting, and stuff like that. Honestly, I feel like they might not have given me enough time, because there's a lot of cool stuff like Paladin getting released, but I honestly feel like it's not enough time for a high quality guide video that I'm trying on this end. But are you guys realizing that? Are you guys like coming into this like, damn, this is harder than I thought it was? Or maybe you guys think it was easy, or whatever the case is. I'm kind of going above and beyond what was asked of the thing, but they gave me an opportunity. I'm going to take the #1 spot. I'm telling you guys right now. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to know if you guys are working on that or not, because trust me, this video would be longer. I would come up with a new topic, but I kind of want to end this now so I can go back to working on that guide video. But guys, one last thing I want to add onto the Airways podcast is I want to do a question recap, because I came up with a few questions in the stream about the topics we talked about. Question recap, it's also going to be in the description below the table of contents, which is just going to go over all the questions I asked in this episode, so you know what to answer. But first question is Temporal Rift. It's like an open-ended question on Temporal Rift. Are you guys, you know, do you like Temporal Rift? Are you running it yourself? Are you one of the guys who runs it and you don't care? Or maybe you're the kind of guy who is okay with the increased weapon drop chance, or you're unfazed by it? Or, you know, give me your reasons as to why you're running Temporal, because honestly, if you agree with me in this video, then you agree, but if you don't, you probably don't agree with anything I said about you, so let me know in the comments. Question 2, we talked all about Echon Dungeons, and overall, I feel like it is probably ignored due to the fact that it's way too hard to grind, and getting an epic set is probably easier to get, especially the level 93 piece set effects. That's what I'm comparing it to. Way easier to get that than to bother with the limiting Echon set. Even though it's strong, it's very limiting in putting on and not very modular. Not modular at all, I should say. And lastly, the Share Your Expertise event. Are you guys participating in it? Are you guys working on it right now? Did you guys already submit one? What is your current status of the Share Your Expertise, if you're working on it at all? Obviously, you know I'm working on it pretty heavily, so I'm going to end this episode short because of it. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. That was the second episode of the Arad Airways podcast, and I will catch you nights later.